Hello, everyone. Today, we're going to explore how poetry works. Not just as words on a page, but as a living experience. We'll look at how readers and poets work together to create meaning, and how poetry has changed over 2,500 years. From ancient Greece to digital apps and slam performances. By the end, you'll see that poetry isn't just old books. It's alive, personal, and constantly evolving. Many people think poetry is like a puzzle. You read it, find the right answer, and that's it. But that's not true. Poetry is about feeling and thinking deeply. It can help us hold onto a beautiful moment, understand sadness, or share joy. It doesn't just give information. It creates a connection between the poet and you, the reader. And that connection is emotional, personal, and full of layers. Here's a key idea: you are not just reading poetry. You're helping to create it. Unlike a textbook, a poem doesn't have one single meaning. It has many possible meanings. This is called polysemy. The way the poem is written, with short lines, spaces, and rhythm, slows you down. It invites you to think, how does this connect to my life? So every time someone reads a poem, they make it new. That's why two people can read the same poem and feel something completely different. And both are right. Now, be careful. The voice in the poem, the I who speaks, is not always the real poet. We call this voice the lyrical self. It might be talking to you, to a lover, to God, or even to itself. Think of it like an actor playing a role. The poet creates this voice to express emotions, but those feelings might not be their own. This makes poetry feel very personal, like a private conversation, even though it's written for everyone. For centuries, Western literature divided poetry into three big types: lyric, epic, and dramatic. Lyric poetry is short and emotional, like a song about love or sadness. Epic poetry tells long stories about heroes, like the Odyssey. Dramatic poetry is written for the stage. Think Shakespeare's plays in verse. Today, we mostly think of lyric poetry when we say poem, but that wasn't always true. Epic poetry isn't just one thing. There are several kinds. The heroic epic, like Homer's Iliad, is serious and grand. The chivalric poem, like Orlando Furioso, mixes knights and magic. The didactic poem, like Dante's Divine Comedy, teaches moral lessons. And the mock heroic poem, like The Rape of the Lock, makes fun of epic style by using it to describe something silly, like losing a curl of hair. These show how flexible poetry can be. Around 200 years ago, something big happened. People stopped caring as much about big hero stories. Instead, they became interested in individual feelings: loneliness, love, doubt, dreams. So lyric poetry became the most important kind. This wasn't just a change in taste. It reflected a deeper shift in society, from we to me. Poetry became a mirror for the inner self, not a monument to collective glory. Let's take a quick journey through time. In ancient Greece, poetry was public, sung with music, used in festivals, and taught values. The poet was like a wise teacher. In Roman and medieval times, poetry became more for educated people. Knights were celebrated, and love poetry flourished, especially in France and Italy. Then came Romanticism in the late 1700s. Poetry turned inward. It was now something you read alone, quietly, connecting with your own emotions. This is the idea of poetry most of us still have today. Poetry didn't stop in the 1800s. It keeps changing. Prose poetry looks like a paragraph but feels poetic. No line breaks, but rich language. Prose in prose goes even further. It uses simple, clear words to describe things exactly as they are. No fancy style, no emotional filter. Free verse, made famous by Walt Whitman, has no rhyme or fixed rhythm. The form follows the feeling. And now, poetry is going digital. Slam poetry is performed live, often about justice, identity, or politics. The audience claps, shouts, and even judges the poet. It's energetic, emotional, and very modern. Electronic poetry mixes words with video, animation, or computer code. For example, video poetry puts text over moving images. Computer poetry uses software to create or move words on screen. In fact, as early as 1961, the Italian poet Nanni Balestrini used a computer to write a poem, showing that poets have always loved new technology. So, what have we learned? Poetry is not a museum piece. It's a living conversation between poet, reader, and the world. It changes with culture, technology, and human needs. Whether it's a 3,000-year-old Greek hymn or a TikTok slam video, poetry helps us feel, understand, and connect. And most importantly, you, the reader, are part of that process. Without you, the poem is incomplete. And this presentation too. So, feel free to ask any questions you like, and thank you for your time and attention.